Hello, welcome to BuffaloNews.com. I'm John Vogel here with Mike Carrington on Sabres Locker Cleanout Day in KeyBank Center. It was a wild one. In my 16 seasons covering it, I've never heard an exit interview like Ryan O'Reilly gave today. It bordered on sadness and disbelief. He said he needed to be so much better. He said he felt lost as a player. He lost his love for the game. It was shocking.
I'm still trying to process that whole interview, John. We came to this expecting the usual bromides we hear every year and expecting to stand by the goal crease like we are where nothing ever happens during the season. But Ryan O'Reilly you're worried for him in terms of his ability to focus through and continue his career in Buffalo right now. You just wonder what they're going to do with him. A guy who says openly he's lost his love for the game, hasn't been able to summon his passion to help this team win with the contract he's playing under. I mean, it was a stunning admission. And O'Reilly's been pretty good at self-analysis over the years, but this one really took everybody by surprise.
He said he was okay with losing, which became a trend in the locker room. It got brought up just because he brought it up, first of all, but he said he became okay with losing, and that was a thing that really filtered through this locker room all season.
What did they say famously in The Natural, John? Losing is a disease. And certainly with the Buffalo Sabres, that's what we've seen. They're now at 7 years without making the playoffs. They're at 11 years without winning a playoff series. And think of the number of games some of these guys have played. Rasmus Ristolainen, Bogosian, Jake McCabe, Sam Reinhart, even Jack Eichel. We're talking 200-300 games, some of these guys. Never been in a playoff series, never won anything in the postseason. And Eichel really came out and discussed his frustration with that. His whole entry-level contract is done, 3 years down, nary a sniff of the playoffs. That's a big theme in this room. And Kyle Okposo said something that was very interesting, though, that the Islanders, when they made the playoffs for the first time with their current group, 16 of them had not been in the playoffs. It took them 4, 5, 6 years to figure it out. The Sabres need to figure it out here.
Yeah, for sure. One difference from this locker cleanout day from last year was Jack Eichel. Last year he got a lot of flack. He was beaten down. He didn't answer anything. He looked like he didn't want to be here. Today he stood up and he talked.
And he talked about how he needed to communicate not just with the media, but he needed to communicate to represent the organization and to communicate to the fans. You know what that says to me? Right here. I'm going to put the C on his jersey right here, right now for next year. Jack Eichel has to be the captain of this team. He acted like the captain of this team today. He's done that a few times this year. He's acted like the captain. Phil Housley wouldn't commit to that, but it's time for them to name a captain, and it's obvious who the leader of this team has to be, and it has to be Jack Eichel.
Yes, heading into the season, it was almost 50-50 split between Jack and Ryan. I think this season proved who the captain should be next year. You mentioned Phil Housley. He said the one thing everyone just got to ask themselves what they can do to be better this year. What did you think of Phil's first year?
I thought it was really up and down. I think he came in and he kind of treaded a little lightly. He knew the players had essentially run Dan Bilesma out. I don't think he thought things were as bad as they were here. I think he was surprised at the lack of physical conditioning, because one of the things he said today was his message was be ready for training camp. And Phil Housley came from the days when Scotty Bowman used to skate these guys into the ground at the Odd in Saberland. And I think next year, come September, it's going to be a different Phil Housley, a different training camp. There's going to be evaluation of the assistant coaches, the whole roster, the schemes, the power play, everything will go. I think Housley will be a little bit different next year. I think he knows right from the start of the season they have to be on point, on message, and make sure they get off to a good start so they're not chasing the season again.
As anyone who watched this team knows, they needed to score more. They needed to stop more pucks. The question will be who stops more pucks next year. Linus Ullmark is the number one guy heading in. Robin Lehner is set to become a restricted free agent. He is not here today. He is seeking a second opinion on a lower body injury he's been dealing with. What do you think the future holds for Robin Lehner?
Well, I think Robin Lehner, they're just going to walk away from. I think Jason Botterill is going to say, I didn't trade a first-round pick for him. Tim Murray did. They're not going to want to pay him $4 million plus. He's an RFA. I think they're just going to walk away. But I think they have a real question here. I think they wanted to see how Linus Ullmark would do at the end of the season, and then he got hurt. Yeah. So they didn't get a lot of games out of him at the end of the season. Chad Johnson was up and down, really finished poorly, had a couple good stretches. And now next year you have no idea who their two goaltenders are going to be. I think it's going to be Linus Ullmark and somebody, but maybe it's a veteran who actually is the number one guy ahead of Linus Ullmark. Because I think one of the things right now is, they can do a lot of different things on defense. Up front, they got to retool their forward lines, but they don't know who's going to stop the puck. And, goalies tend to be interchangeable, but you've got to have somebody you can rely on. And right now, they don't know what they're going to have in net.
I'm thinking back to the preseason. There was so much excitement about the defense. Phil Housley was going to come in, get a brisk defense, get the puck moving guys, and then between injuries and just not good play, basically. The defense never gelled. What do you expect?
Do we have to watch Nathan Boileau anymore? Yeah, that's one of Botterill's acquisitions. Just didn't work out. But you think of Bogosian, injured again, just can't stay healthy. Victor Antipin wasn't the kind of prospect they thought he would be coming out of the KHL. Didn't have a goal, finished injured. McCabe finished injured. Scandella, miscast as a first pair guy. Wasn't a first pair guy in Minnesota. Ristolainen, not looking like a first pair guy. They need a major overhaul back there. Now, things change if they win the lottery and Rasmus Dahlin is on their team next year. But if they don't win the lottery, they've got a lot of thinking to do. They're going to need a couple more veterans. Brendan Gooley will be here. That'll help. But you can't think Brendan Gooley's going to come in and be a first pair guy next year. So to me, Housley, I think, was really disappointed with the defense score. And they know that if they don't get the puck moving from the back end, they're in real trouble with the way Housley wants to play. And it just didn't work out this year for them.
We have one more thing to do with locker cleanout. It's going to be Jason Botterill coming in on Wednesday, giving his thoughts. Just, I don't know what he's going to say differently that we did, but I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about what his team did this year.
I do want to hear what he says about Leonard. I want to hear what he says about Eichel being the captain of this club. And I also want to hear about what his plans are if they don't win the lottery. They have an 81% chance of not getting Rasmus Dahlin. What are the big objectives? Is it to get a left winger to replace Evander Kane? Is it more help on defense? And what are they going to do in goal? There are a lot of questions Botterill has to answer. And let's not forget here, the prevailing public line is, he inherited a bad team from Tim Murray. Well, he inherited bad contracts from Tim Murray. He basically put 8 or 9 or 10 of these guys together after he took over, and they actually went from 78 points to 62 and became the first team in NHL history to finish 31st. I don't think anybody believed that would happen here this year, but here we are again, standing in the same goal crease we seem to be every year on the concrete with the ice gone in April.
As Mike said, the ice is gone, Sabres hockey is gone, but the coverage will continue, as always, at BuffaloNews.com, and we appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.